Maryland obviously provides us with a ton of challenges, and they're playing extremely well at home. They're coming off of a tough loss, and they have tremendous spacing, ball movement. There's no question that their ability to get fouled and make free throws is one of their great strengths. Tremendous running team. The spacing and the ability to shoot threes is outstanding. The biggest thing is the way that not only they drive it to get those shots, but the way that they post it. And they post extremely well. Des Wells obviously is a tremendous post-up player, driver, facilitator, and at the same time is a 50% three-point shooter, I believe, in this league. And Jake Lehman posts, certainly all of the players that play their 5 position post it extremely well. So we're going to see the same type of challenges that we see with an ability for a team to be able to play inside. And at the same time, this is one of the better shooting teams in the country, and not to mention one of the better transition teams. So we have to do a great job defensively, and offensively we cannot come down and settle. We cannot come down and play into their hands and help defense. We've got to make the ball move. And will we shoot it again like we did here a couple weeks ago? That remains to be seen, but we have to move the ball to have a chance to beat this team the way that we played a couple of weeks ago. And that's going to be extremely, extremely important, that we do not get into a situation where we're giving them a lot of run-out baskets on turnovers or quick shots, and we don't want to play slow, but we certainly don't want to be a team that's in a hurry and trying to make something happen that's not there. And looking forward to seeing greater maturity on the road for us, and we've had it at times, certainly with Nebraska and Illinois, and we've had it inside other games. But you can't go on the road and have lulls and pit stops in your game where you're giving up baskets and you're not making them. I mean, we've got to understand that our ability to build runs starts with our ability to defend and take care of the ball. So that's what we're getting ready to do over the next little bit before we leave for Maryland. Go ahead.
How much is the familiarity for your players with Maryland, just having played them 2 weeks ago, you think that helps when you're going and playing them now?
Oh, I think so. I think it helps both teams though. And they've got the edge right now because we beat them here, and we beat them soundly, and we beat them on the road, and they've been looking forward to this game since they met with the media after the game, reading some of those quotes. So there's no question that it does on both parts, and they'll make adjustments. We'll make adjustments, but the bottom line is, we've got to play a certain way. I mean, we can't play anybody. We had 10 turnovers in that game, and a couple of them were in the first half that just weren't smart at all. And those are the ones that really hurt you, when you're trying to make plays that weren't. We had some against Michigan, so we've got to have a better value of spacing and really utilizing the spacing. Not just be there and not hit those people, but be there and not try to. We get going too fast sometimes, and I like that we're playing fast, but we can't go so fast that we miss the open spot, that we miss the open man, that we don't make the pass ahead. And we're so conscious of trying to get to the foul line because it's so important, because we don't have that post-up game, that's where, it's a risk-reward type of a thing. And so sometimes it might look like we're a little out of control. Well, we don't get to the free throw line enough. Well, first off, we're 73-74% free throw shooting team, so we want to get to the free throw line. But if we don't get to the free throw line enough, we're not going to win games. And we don't have a post-up situation that just demands that. So we've got to get to the rim. But we've got to keep building our decision-making as we're doing that.
Tom, with Hunter, what kind of minutes, but what kind of role do you foresee him? How tough has it been for him, for somebody with a knee injury, to try to get in the shape you need him to be in?
Well, I think the shape will be ongoing. It's getting into the rhythm a little bit, and we did a lot of things with him yesterday in the half court to help. But it's just a matter of him getting used to it again. The conditioning will come. And I'm not sure what the minute limit is. I'll know more tomorrow, and that becomes a day-to-day thing with Tim and the doctors. So we'll see what that is tomorrow. And we really didn't do much as a team yesterday. We broke the day up pretty good for them in the afternoon, but we were able to be specific with him on a couple of things, which were good for him. But we'll just see. I mean, it gives us, we've gained some confidence since he's been out. in the sense of how we can play. But there's still things that we miss that he really does, and not just defensively, but offensively. And it's just a matter of him coming in, and the biggest thing is to come and get adjusted. Don't get those quick fouls so that we can play him, because that was one of the issues before he got hurt. He was getting the quick fouls. And that's the part of it. So when he can play, and it's not even about sustainable minutes of quantity, but more about the quality of the minutes, where there's not the fouls. And just kind of get back in the rhythm of that. But at the same time, be a presence in pick and roll defense, be a presence in the post, be a presence at the rim, be a presence in help defense, run the floor, get people open, space and get the ball free inside so he can go up into his jump hook, things like that. So we just got to kind of wait and see how it turns out.
I guess, Eddie, and I know we talked about this some of the Big Two yesterday, but I think with him and without him, you're essentially averaging about the same increase in points per possession and points per possession allowed. How do you balance?
Way ahead of me. I didn't even know that.
I only saw it yesterday, but I guess just how do you balance trying to get some of those things out of him defensively while with retaining, the way you've been able to play on offense with Colin creating those mismatches?
Well, the one thing that he hasn't been able to, in the Big Ten games, sustain enough of those quality minutes is he can drive the ball. I mean, is he necessarily going to shoot the ball like Colin Hunter? No, that's not what his role is. But he can drive the ball. What he's got to do is he's got to be like everybody else, got to play with his head up. When he sees an open man, he's got to hit him. And at the same time, we can play through the post in the sense of throwing it into him. And he can find some cutters, especially when the head is up. And at the same time, he gives us a guy that can play right at the basket with great length that they have to account for. But it's the rebounding, it's the screen and roll. Those are the kind of things that are going to be really important for him. And again, it might become somewhat situationally for a while because teams have sometimes tried to force us to match up with them, and at times, obviously, they've matched down with us. So it just kind of depends on the flow of the game. What's working well, what they're doing well. I mean, there's no question that we've got to defend the low post back. And but he has to defend the low post back. He wasn't defending it real well before he got hurt with the fouls. And if we can keep him moving and moving his feet and using his length and being in position early, playing with verticality. Verticality is a huge, huge thing. And it seems to be one of the things that they're really calling. There's some things that I would look at and say, I'm not sure this is being called as consistent, but verticality seems to be being called pretty consistent. So you got to do a great job of getting your hands all the way up, getting them back behind your head, and it's not as much about blocking the shot as it's altering the shot, being in position early, and the other thing about Hunter that's so good is he's our leading charge taker.
Is it feasible that he could play alongside Colin for
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, when Colin's aggressive, Colin needs to be on the floor. We can't have the games that Colin played at Ohio State, at Purdue. We can't have those games. And he was just too much. He's kind of blended into the woodwork, and he's got to be a bigger part of both offense and defense, in the sense of his closeouts, in the sense of his help defense, in the sense of facilitating driving, being ready to shoot on the road. Those type of things, and just see himself as everybody that's on the court should be a focal part of the offense. That's why who scores, who doesn't score, who the leading scorer is, who's scoring in the half. None of that really matters with this team if we're getting really good ball movement, and he's a big part of that. But in answer to your question, yes, they can play together.
Do you see maybe an extra bounce in the step of Troy, Stan, Robbins being able to go home?
I don't know. That's a good question. I would say, Robin, the same thing because he'll have family there. What we did yesterday was really good. We just didn't go as a full team for about 30 minutes. And so I'm sure we'll see some of that today. Yeah, I would think so. I mean, we love that area. Indiana University loves that area. It's the third largest alumni base. That area is when you get outside of Indiana and you break away from Chicago and New York. I mean, it's huge. So I think there's around 11,000 alums just in that area alone. So it's a great place for us. Football's recruiting there. Has recruited there, is recruiting there, and it's such a bigger base now because of Maryland and Rutgers with Big Ten knowledge. So I would think so. And I haven't looked at the ticket list yet. I would say that would probably indicate that there's an excitement. I don't know if there's a bounce in Jade's step going through all that, but there'll be a bounce in those guys' step, I'm sure.
Time for one more question.
Tom, you mentioned Connor in the foul trouble, but it seems like early on in games, he gets that cheap foul on a screen where he's, is that just a mental thing for him, or, I mean, I'm sure that's something you guys
I think
are
so.
all-
Yeah, Collins had a couple of those. I mean, they're going to call, the screening is going to be called pretty tight, And we all have different views of what tight is. We all have different views of who's moving screens, who's not. That's not relevant. But the bottom line for the beginning of the game is relevant, that it gets called. So you've got to really plant your feet. You got to get a wide base. You got to lock the arms. And a lot of times, it's the fault of the ball. The ball has got to wait for the screen, whoever's got the ball. And those are some of the last reminders that we have in practice constantly. And at the same time, those are things that we're working and teaching throughout practice. It's sort of, we'll have referees out there today. And we have the referees call it very tight when it comes to hands, when it comes to verticality, when it comes to the screen, things of that nature. So we get in that habit. But we still make those mistakes from time to time as others do, and we've got to clean that up. But that's what it is more than anything else.
On his radio show last night, Tino said that, you guys are exploring the possibility.
He snuck one in, you see that? He snuck one in.
I asked nicely.
He snuck one in.
Have you had any input in that?
Absolutely. I respect Rick a lot. And I would say that if we get this series completed, a 3-year series that it is, that a series of that magnitude really deserves the respect of an official announcement and it being a big deal, because it would be. But are we in the midst of that, among other things that we're doing? Absolutely. We are in the midst of that. We have been. But there's still too many things that have to be, there's still, with a series of that magnitude and the dates that we would potentially play it at, the way we would play it, a lot of things have to get worked out. So it's premature for us to talk about it. And like I said, I hope when that time comes that it's a big enough deal that it deserves the proper announcement. Okay? Thanks.